Sorry about that, my phone ran out of battery life. So continuing where we left off for the 9.0 video lesson. So we're looking at this problem here and we're trying to identify the A and the B values in this trinomial. And if the A is in the first position, the A should be in the first position here. So the A squared should correspond to the A, it's x squared, which means the A should correspond to the x. Same thing for the B. The B squared is in this position, so the B squared should correspond to the 9 over here. Well, the 9 doesn't look like it's a power of 2 value, but you can write the 9 as a 3 squared, which then makes more sense. So the B is just a 3. Alright, terrific. So now we have our A and we have our B. Next up, we have to check to see if we have the middle term, which is the 2AB. To get that, we take a 2 and we multiply it by our A and the B. In this case, when we have the A being the x and the B being the 3. So we're going to take our 2 and we're going to multiply it by the x and the 3. So what is the product of this? 2 times x is 2x. 2x times 3 is 6x. Does this match this? It does. Which means this problem is in the same form as this. It's the shortcut form, which means you can use a shortcut. To use the shortcut, you just write down, use a different color. You write down right over here, 2 parentheses, A plus B, all taken to the second power. Our A is x, our B is 3, all taken to the second power. That's it. You are done. 100%. I mean, you can rewrite this as x plus 3 times x plus 3. That's the same thing. And this is actually the more correct way to write it anyway. So that's it. That's the answer. You don't have to use the diamond. You don't have to use the trial error method. Right there you have the answer. And on this problem, that's an easy one. You probably could have done the diamond and the trial and error. Actually, you didn't have to do the trial and error, the diamond, just a simple factorization, and you could have done it nice and quick. But when the problems become a bit more complicated, this is where you do want to utilize a shortcut if it's applicable. Let's do another example. So let's look at that problem, x squared minus 10x plus 25. So we want to see if we can use the shortcut for this particular problem. Well, first we have to figure out what our A and what our B is. So the A should be in this position. If you remember the shortcut problem, I'll just write it underneath here in purple. It was, should have been an A squared here, should have been a B squared here, and there should be a 2AB at this position. So that means that our A squared should correspond to the x squared, our B squared should correspond to the 25. So then the A should be what? Well, if the A squared corresponds to the x squared, the A should be an x. What about our B? If the B squared corresponds to a 25, well, we know that you can write the 25 as 5 squared. Same correspondence, but now if the B squared is 5 squared, then just the B is just the 5. Sorry, without the square. Good, 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 good. So now we have our A and B. Perfect, that's half the battle. Then we have to figure out our middle. The middle is 2 times the A and the B. Well, the A is the x, the B is the 5. So let's go ahead and multiply it through and see what we get. Let's see here. We have 2 times x is 2x. 2x times 5 is going to be 10x. Alright, so now let's see if this and this match. Well, the values do, but this is positive and this is negative. So, what happens here? Well, now you're using the second shortcut method. Here's that second shortcut method. If you have a negative here, and you still have that positive here, you can write that as a minus b to the second power. So if you have a negative in front of the middle term and not a positive, so this term doesn't match up with the signs. It matches up with the value. That's the important part, the value, but it doesn't match up with a sign, and you have a negative, then you write it in this form. A minus b all taken to the second power. Well, we know what a is, we know what b is, so we're pretty much done here. So we just write down x minus, this time minus 5, all taken to the second power. That's it. Done. There's nothing else for us to do. So there are two forms to the second shortcut. Either you have a positive in this position, in which case you will use, one second, let me find the other paper. You will use this shortcut, which is a plus b all taken to the second power, and here the middle term always matches up sign and the value. Or you have where your middle term and doesn't match up just with a sign, positive here, negative here. And if it's a negative, use the other shortcut where you have a minus b taken to the second power. Very similar. So the a plus b all taken to the second power is if you have a positive here. The a minus b all taken to the second power is if you have a negative there. But everything else works out the same. You find what the a is, and the a should be in the first position. You find what the b is, which is in the second position. So if it's an a squared and you have an x squared, that means a is x. If you have a b squared and you have a 25, and 25 is 5 squared, which means b is 5. And then you make sure that your middle lines up. And the way you do that is you take a 2, you multiply it by the a, and then multiply that by the b, and then that should give you your middle. If the signs are off, if you get a positive but it should be a negative, then you know you're using a second shortcut. If you get a positive and it's a positive, just like in here, where we got a positive and it was positive, then we know that you use the first shortcut where it's a plus b all taken to the second power. But otherwise, you're done. And then you just fill in the terms. You fill in this case, x for a, 3 for b, done. In this case, you fill in x for a, 5 for b, and it was just a negative instead of a positive, all taken to the second power, and done. And sorry about the colors not matching up between the two problems. I was not trying to confuse you. Alright, so thank you very much for that. And if you have any extra questions, refer to my homework video or come and see me during before school, lunch, and or after school, and I'll be more than happy to help you out further, or just ask during class too. That's all. That always works out. So thank you.